What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Paul. I make videos about Japanese society, life, and culture from the viewpoint of a long-term foreign resident. I've been in Japan for 20 years now, and today's topic is culture shock. Namely, I'm going to be addressing a problem that I've found. Basically, there is a lot of bad information out there about the topic of culture shock. There are a lot of influencers, vlogs, internet lists, TikTok videos, YouTube shorts, etc. that talk about culture shock, and most of what they mention is not culture shock. They've got the entire idea of culture shock wrong. And so today I'm going to be giving you some of those examples. I'm going to tell you what culture shock really is, how you might experience it in Japan, and in the end, what you can actually do about it. So let's get into the topic. I do need to quickly mention though that this video is sponsored by Sakurako. Sakurako is an artisan Japanese snack box. It's basically a subscription service that you get a new box filled with Japanese goodies every single month. And each box is themed from a different prefecture in Japan. And for me, it's been a lot of fun getting these boxes. I highly recommend you look into it. I will talk more about them later. But now let's get right into the topic. And the first thing I'm going to do is go down the list of things that I found influencers, YouTubers, vloggers talking about as being culture shock in Japan. Now, the first problem is a lot of the people that are providing this content are tourists. So they're talking about the things that surprise them in Japan. And that's the first problem. Culture shock is not being surprised about something being different. So here are some of the, I'm just going to pull up my phone here, and I compiled a list. These are kind of the inane things that people listed as culture shock. Okay, no water fountains, no paper being provided in toilets for, washing your hands, fancy toilets that have washlet systems, advertisements being everywhere, escalators where you have a rule that you have to stand on the left and walk on the right, or the opposite when you're in Osaka. The fact that there's lockers for rent everywhere. Oh.
God.
Subarashi. Kakkoi. Some quick bird watching there for you. The customer service is amazing. The trains run on time. There's vending machines everywhere. Oh my goodness, these things are so shocking. Yeah, not really. Surprising, maybe. Shocking, not. You see, we have to remember that the definition of culture shock is actually a negative thing, underlying negative thing. That is, you have become overwhelmed by a new culture. You feel like you can't understand how things work. You maybe feel like you have a loss of agency. You're not able to function as well as you would like. You're increasingly coming up against language barriers and things that you thought you had figured out, you didn't have figured out. And so you have to go back to the drawing board, and you begin to feel overwhelmed. It can make you depressed. That is culture shock. It's not just cultural differences that you've noticed after being here a week or two or a month or something like that. That is not culture shock. What culture shock actually is, filming shock is always those noisy scooters. Most of the cuts you see in my videos are me cutting out scooters passing me. Anyway. What is, oh, there's a squirrel too. Wow, there's wildlife viewing today. Nice. Anyway, what culture shock actually is, well, it's often described as coming in different phases. When you first come to Japan, move to Japan or come here as a tourist, you are in what's known as the honeymoon phase. Everything is new, different, fascinating, amazing. That's when you're like, wow, there are vending machines everywhere. And oh my God, the customer service is amazing. I don't think there's anyone coming to Japan, seeing all the vending machines everywhere, and then curling up in a fetal position in their hotel because it's too overwhelming. Now, I'm sorry if you have a vending machine phobia, and that actually could happen to you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the vast majority of people who are not going to be culture shocked by the fact that there's vending machines. So almost by definition, if you're a tourist, you're probably not going to have culture shock. You're not going to be in Japan for long enough. You're going to be in that honeymoon period. It's after that kind of initial sparkle wears off when you start to kind of fall into traps in the society where you thought something would work like this, but it actually works like that, or you're getting frustrated that certain things that should be easy to do have become difficult to do because of language barrier, cultural difference, etc. This usually sets in like 3-4 months after you've arrived in the country. So you enter the actual culture shock phase, and you might find yourself feeling depressed, feeling like you don't want to try to do anything, you don't want to go outside, you're overwhelmed. And some of the things I mentioned earlier, like, cultural differences, like, the fantastic customer service, trains running on time, meaning like you're kind of feeling yourself forced to be that precise about your own time, and you're feeling like I have to do everything perfect because everything is perfect here, and you feel like you're not measuring up. Like, those things can start to build up as being part of your overall culture shock issues, but in and of themselves, they're not really something that are causing your culture shock. So it's more like an amalgamation or a building up of things. And so you find yourself in this situation where, you're not feeling comfortable in the new country, in the new culture. But we need to remember that this is perfectly normal. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens to quite a few people. And this is regardless of whatever country you might have moved to. But Japan being very different from a lot of other places in the world, it can be particularly stark. So the one bit of advice I would give is give it time. Because after the culture shock phase, there's usually a phase called adaptation. And then finally, the final phase is acceptance. And then that's when everything just kind of reaches an equilibrium and becomes normal life. So if you're in the culture shock phase, you're 4 months in Japan and you're feeling really down and out, blue about things in general, what you don't want to do is be like, all right, I'm done. You skip out on your rental contract and you leave your employer in a lurch and you just go back to your home country. That's absolutely the worst thing to do, because you're at your lowest point, sure, but it's going to get better. You're going to reach that adaptation and then acceptance phases. And that's why I generally say that you probably want to give yourself at least a year in a country before you really make a decision whether it's right for you. Because if you've reached the end of your year and you've come out of the culture shock, great. However, if you still find certain things about the culture and the society too onerous and irritating, then it's time to make the decision that Japan isn't right for you. And that's totally fine. You've given it a chance. But if you just up and leave, in the 3rd or 4th month, not only is that, being a bad person by skipping out on contracts and such, you're not really giving Japan a chance. Now, I do need to add a caveat, which is it is possible that you could fall into a feeling of depression, and it's like a deep funk that really isn't so much culture shock. It might be exacerbated by the culture shock, but actually you're dealing with some genuine depression and other issues. Like, I don't want to say, oh, you should wait that out and just let it pass. Like, if you're really suffering, it might be something deeper. And so I'm not going to say don't seek help or like never leave in your 3rd or 4th month. Like, I won't say that. But most people, if it's just culture shock, you're going to come out of it. If it feels like it's beyond that, like if you're thinking like, oh, maybe I need to go out to a certain forest called Aokigahara in Yamanashi, like if it's gone that bad, yeah, that's the time to seek help, maybe think about leaving Japan. But for most people, that culture shock isn't going to lead to that extreme. So what can you do about culture shock when you're experiencing it besides just wait it out? Well, one of the things that you can do is try to, use your social networking that you have. Like, you're probably missing friends and family back home. Talk with them. Get in touch with them. Go into hobbies and things that you know you really love. Like, get really extra involved in things, you know, just kind of, I don't want to say like force your way through it, but don't let the bad be the enemy of the good, meaning like don't just let the rest of your life fall by the wayside because you've had a few bad episodes or you're feeling kind of blue at this point. Remember, this is still a brand new country with a lot of things to explore and experience, and maybe you should take a weekend off and go for a relaxing trip somewhere. Do whatever it takes to get you through it, and you will get through it, and you'll begin to appreciate things about Japan and the country and the society again. When we talk about an equilibrium or an acceptance phase, well, there's going to be things in the country that, or the society rather, that you might never really like. You're always going to be irritated by something. I've always divided this into basically 3 levels. There's things that I didn't like that I changed my mind about and came to like. There's things I've made my peace with, which is, okay, that's just the way it is, and it's really not that bad. I'll just, I can deal with it. And the 3rd level is the things that, yeah, they still irritate me now, and, there's not much I can do about that, but I'm not going to let it ruin my life. There is one other piece of advice that I can give when it comes to dealing with culture shock and being able to overcome those types of feeling down and depressed in your life, whether it's in the first 3 or 4 months you're here, or any time that it happens through your life in Japan. But before I give that other piece of advice, let's hear from our sponsor for today, Sakurako. Akimashite omedetou gozaimasu. Happy New Year, everyone. It is the Year of the Snake, and I have my first Sakurako box. Came in the mail. Let's open it up and see what is inside. Wow. And would you look at that? It's actually a picture of where I am right now. I'm out in Yamanashi Prefecture for New Year's, and that's a picture of Mount Fuji from Kawaguchiko. Each box comes with a booklet like this, which tells you details about all of the snacks. There will be pages talking about, for example, this is omikuji, Japanese fortunes, so Japanese traditions, and the booklet contains all important allergen information as well. What's really cool about Sakurako is that they work directly with the local artisans, the local snack makers and companies, so that they're really collaborating with some local area of Japan. And this month's theme is clearly Oshogatsu, or New Year's. So it's going to be highlighting some treats and sweets that are associated with the new year. So let's actually get into the treats and enjoy a few things. Sakurako is a monthly Japanese artisan snack box that supports local Japanese snack makers. Each box comes with 20 traditional, authentic, and artisan Japanese snacks, including Japanese teas. It has a monthly theme, and in this month we have the Oshogatsu, or New Year's theme. Through Sakurako Treats, you can enjoy both rich and authentic snacks, and you will also get a monthly tableware item. This month is a Nishijin Ori coaster. These coasters showcase the beautiful intricacy of Nishijin Ori, which is a woven fabric with over 1,000 years of history. Each coaster embodies artistry and tradition of Japanese craftsmanship. To begin, I'm going to try the yuzu infused green tea. It's Kanagawa green tea, but the yuzu peel is sourced from Kochi Prefecture. That's really nice, actually. I'm always worried with citrus teas that it's going to be very overpowering, but it still tastes like green tea with just a little bit of hint of yuzu, and that's quite nicely balanced. So being New Year's, most of the snacks in here have something to do with New Year's season. For example, this senbei comes with a very cute snake on the front because it is the year of the snake. It's supposed to be, again, according to the book, a honey glazed senbei, so it's a little bit of sweet and salty. Oh, it's super crunchy. Again, like the yuzu in the tea, the sweetness is not overpowering. It's just like a gentle bit of hint of sweetness on top of the salty senbei. Along with the New Year's themes with the snacks, we have winter themed items, like this item which is made from sweet potato. The book informs you that it's called sweet potato kintsuba. In their words, a traditional Japanese sweet crafted with Naruto kintoki sweet potatoes from Tokushima, which is in Kagoshima Prefecture, and they are baked to a golden brown. And again, the allergen information is on there. It says it is vegetarian friendly, and let's give it a try. Quite honestly, it tastes like they've managed to take pure sweet potato and just turn it into a sweet potato cake. It doesn't taste like it's adulterated with anything other. I mean, you pull it apart, it looks like how sweet potato looks when you eat just the pure potato. And it's so sweet, it's excellent. This might be one of my favorite things that Sakurako has ever sent me. And finally, something that should match very nicely with the yuzu tea. This is a green tea dorayaki. This kind of dorayaki cake surrounding usually red bean paste, or in this case, infused with green tea, this actually dates back to the Heian era. So we're talking, this is a traditional Japanese sweets that is over 1,000 years old. You get a real sense of the matcha infusion, and you get the sort of dough taste of the pancake thing. And the sweetness just brings it all together. It makes it a lovely treat, but it's not something where you're, thinking, wow, am I really ruining my diet with this? The best thing about Sakurako is that you can get all of this delivered right to your door anywhere in the world. You can get your little piece of Japan monthly. It's going to come to your door and you're going to feel yourself transformed, transported all the way to Japan. If you've been here before, it'll be like a nostalgic trip for you, enjoying these sweets. And if you've never been to Japan, this will help you dream of your first journey to come here. In any event, Sakurako does a really magnificent job of putting together a box of delicious treats with a different theme each month. And it's really an excellent gift to a friend, a gift to yourself. So I definitely recommend picking up Sakurako. If you use my link in the description and my code Exjapter, you'll get $5 off your first order. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Now let's get back to the video. Okay, so the other bit of advice that I would give for overcoming culture shock or feelings of depression, like not being able to deal with the culture as they may happen, is keeping a mindset that's remembering why you're here in the first place. A mindset of adaptability and openness. You came here and you had that honeymoon period where everything was amazing and new. You felt you were learning all kinds of wonderful things. The culture was so interesting and dynamic, and you wanted to get to the bottom of why things are the way they are, the history, what is underneath or underneath the rug. That's the wrong expression. Behind the curtain. That's what I'm looking for. You're looking to find out what's behind the curtain, and you're trying to understand Japan in a way that not many people can unless they live here for a while. And so I would say try to keep that honeymoon feeling alive in your brain whenever you're feeling down about Japan. Keep that openness and curiosity going. And I know this may not work for everyone, but for me it certainly has. The reason why I'm here 20 years later is because I've never lost my fascination with this place. I've never stopped wanting to see new things and experience new things about Japan. It's just, this country has never ceased to be fascinating because I've just kept that mindset of I want to know what makes this place tick. I want to know more of the history. I want to know more about the people. I want to know more about the regional differences. I mean, there's so much to explore, and basically keeping that mindset can help you get through those darker times. It certainly did for me. And finally, of course, it needs to be said that language learning, a lot of the problems you might encounter are because of the language problems, like language gap, not being able to communicate what you want, what you need, being able to take care of something that would be easy back in your home country, but is not easy here because of the language difference. So studying language can help mitigate a lot of those things. It's never going to entirely go away unless you become really amazing at Japanese. For myself personally, I mean, if I'm going to the tax office and I've made a mistake on my tax forms or something, that could make me feel kind of depressed. Now I've got this big snarl, this big issue that I have to take care of, and communicating in Japanese about tax issues is not going to be easy. Let's be honest, it wouldn't be very easy in America either. Like, most people muddle through their taxes and all the legalese that makes up all of those forms, and it's going to probably make you feel depressed and down if you make a mistake on your taxes in America, and then you have to take care of a big problem that you got yourself into. It's not going to feel good in any country you are. However, being in a foreign country, you might be tempted to be like, wow, this is just Japan being annoying. It's because Japan has this weird rule, or da-da-da-da-da. And you might chalk it up to culture, and then that becomes a kind of culture shock. But in reality, it's just you're going through the ups and downs of ordinary life. And again, it might feel more dire, or it might feel exacerbated by the fact that you're in a foreign culture. But it's just a fact of life that you're going to have points, high points and low points. And your language ability, I have high points where I have a conversation and I think, wow, okay, my Japanese has really reached a good level. And then a few days later, I'll find myself in a situation and the Japanese I'm using, I'm just like, I don't know how to communicate. And I have a super low point because I feel like, oh, my Japanese is terrible. I'm totally not up to this country. And it's just a balance of those things. It's the equilibrium that you want to reach and the realization that it's not Japan. You're not going to change Japan. You can adapt as well as you can. Going back to those 3 layers of come to like some things, accept other things, and then just, resign yourself to be annoyed by certain things. And that's life. That's really life anywhere. But what inspired this topic to begin with, and what I want to reiterate, is that culture shock is an actual serious thing that should be taken seriously, that you should try to have some understanding about what it is and how it's making you feel if you are experiencing it yourself. I found, looking at these video shorts and lists online about what is culture shock in Japan, I found that that's going to be incredibly unhelpful for anyone who might be experiencing genuine culture shock, because it's not nonsense like, the trains run on time is not going to put you into a fit of despair. So yeah, the inspiration for this video was I just wanted to talk about how this is not culture shock, what you're seeing a lot of online. I mean, go ahead and type in Japan culture shock into the YouTube search engine and you're going to come up with a lot of nonsense, really. So I wanted to get some actual genuine information out there, my own experience, and I hope it will be helpful to someone who's thinking about living in Japan, or someone who's living here now and might be in the honeymoon phase or in the culture shock phase and might be curious what they can do about it. But at the end of the day, I wish you all the best of luck. I hope that you enjoy your time in Japan, whether you are a tourist or a resident or a want-to-be resident. Thank you so very much for watching this particular video. The ways you can support the channel, go buy the Sakurako box using my code Exjapter for $5 off. That helps support the channel. You can support directly by joining my Patreon. And I did recently post an exclusive video over there about my Japanese language journey. So if you join my Patreon, you can get access to that. But the number one way you can really help the channel is like, subscribe, and share my videos with other people who you think might be interested. Like if you know someone who's moving to Japan or living in Japan, this might be a good video to send to them. But at the end of the day, what I really need to say thank you for is watching this video. Thank you so much, and I hope to catch you next week as well. Peace.